What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Backliners podcast. It's Agro and Barracuda,
Hello,
as per
it's
usual.
me.
It
I'm still
seems like
sick.
it's still using. Are you serious? You're still sick?
Yeah, I, yeah.
That's criminal.
I think it's just supercharged because I wasn't sick like all of this year, and then
There's no chance that that is true.
that is true.
No shot.
That is true.
Someone from the podcast should find which episode this year Bear has been like, yeah, sorry, I'm sick.
Well,
It's just a reality, It's just how it has to be.
well, I think that previous Barrow was lying.
Okay.
And this is the first time I've been sick this year. But yeah, it's not really like an actual sickness. It's just like a cold, and it sounds way worse than it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because this morning I was just like hacking up a lung in the bathroom,
Uh-huh.
and because it just like all that. I'm sorry.
No,
It
go
just
ahead, please.
it all like settles in your lungs, and
Yeah,
then
it's so gross.
you get vertical, and your body's like, we gotta purge this.
Yeah.
And so I was just coughing a lot this morning. And then I get to work and it's fantastic. I got lots of energy for the first like half of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second half of the day rolls around. I have to learn a whole lot of stuff. And then I just start getting tired and my energy just goes straight down. And now I'm a shell of a human being right now because of a sickness and learning a lot. Learning a lot just makes you tired.
It's true. No, that is legitimately true. It definitely does. Well, I'm glad to hear that your foray into the normal workforce is going well. You do have an Olympus Bolts logo on your overlay today because I couldn't find
Oh,
the one without it. So this is what you got. Welcome back to the Bolts, though. So make sure your colleagues know
those
that you have to
guys would never
scrim
drop me.
tomorrow. Yeah, you can't work. You got to scrim instead. And that's just how it's got to be.
That's just super unlucky because I was playing assault games earlier and I couldn't hit water if I fell out of a boat.
Mm.
So I really don't think scrimming would be a good idea for me. I feel like
That's what scrims are for, right? To just int. That's what
it
I'm
would be
told.
it would be like Zapman and scrims times like 4. Like
Mm. That would
the
be
inting and
impressive.
scrims just cranked all the way up. And
Yeah,
it wouldn't even be like on purpose. It would just be me like just missing literally everything.
yeah, that is true. Oh, I should probably address. This was supposed to be the interactive AMA episode. We had a couple issues with people grabbing tickets and all that kind of stuff, so we did push it back and to give us a little bit of extra time because it was kind of short notice. So it is now going to be next week, Wednesday, November 1st. How messed up is it that it's November already, by the way? Absolutely criminal that it is already November. But either way, Wednesday,
Well, it's
November
not
1st.
November yet.
Well, yeah, it's going to be.
Well, it's
November
going to be
1st.
December too.
It's
It's
no
so
way
messed up.
it's
It's
coming.
already December.
No way it's coming right after November, man. It wouldn't dare. So yeah, get your tickets. The link will be in chat, in the description of the podcast, the video, however you prefer to consume, our
Anything.
ramblings. Can you believe that I went an hour by myself last week? That is psychotic. Like I've been literally thinking about it. Like that is it was a wake up call for me that I have a serious problem.
And what are you gonna do about that serious problem?
Absolutely nothing.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna feel bad about it instead of anything else. No, no, it's not
well,
that bad. Well, it just reminded me that for when I first, even before I graduated from college, I was working at CBS Radio, and that was gonna be my
uh-huh.
plan for a little bit, was to get into sports talk radio. And then I thought later on in my life, like, I'm really glad I didn't do that. I don't think I would have been any good at that. I think I could have easily done it. Looking back
Yeah,
now,
100%.
it was terrifying in a way.
Yeah, you could have done that, or you could have been on Good Mythical Morning and just talked about
Bro,
food.
tell me about it. I could have been, and that's way more money than stupid
Exactly.
sports talk radio. Yeah, it just is what it is.
You take one bite of food and then you give it a number score 0 to 100, and that's your whole job. That's your whole episode.
All I'm saying is that if it wasn't just a shameless rip of doing that now, I would still do that. But now I'd be like, it would just be embarrassing because it's such an established
Well,
thing, you know?
that's also like the majority of content. It's just like recycled
Mm,
stuff that another person has already done. You know, like Food Network. Like Food
true.
Network's been making food for years,
Yeah,
and
they
they're just
invented
doing
food,
it
actually.
exactly, and they're just doing it different ways. So I mean, if you want to eat that said food, you can surely do that.
Yeah, okay. Well,
You
do you,
oh,
what were you gonna say?
make it a whole family experience.
Me, Joe's food opinions are just as bad as mine, dude. It's not gonna go well.
Well, that makes it even better.
People
Because
are gonna
I
get
have
real
good
mad.
opinions, so I can't be on the show.
Oh, right. Okay, wait. Right. You are right when you said that. That thing about that you said that you're right, that your opinions are
Uh
good. That is actually. Hold on one second. I'm getting a call.
huh.
Hello? Oh, he's right. Oh, okay. They said you're right.
Was that the president?
No. It wasn't. It was no one. My phone. I didn't even press a button on my phone to make it seem like I was picking anything up. That's. It was just.
What's a
my
bad
best
food
effort.
opinion that I've had?
Do you like sweet potatoes?
Oh,
Boom.
yes, of course.
Yep. There you go.
They're good. They're
First and
good and they're
foremost.
good for you and they're affordable.
Yeah. The fact that when we talked about our ideal sandwich, and I asked what type of bread, if I remember correctly, and this is thinking back multiple years at this point, and I would appreciate if someone would go back and listen to, I think it's our first episode, I want to say, or like one of our first episodes.
That was a good
I
question.
believe your direct quote was any bread, which is a psychotic thing to say when we're talking about your ideal sandwich.
As someone that loves bread, all bread is good.
Yes, we're talking
It's
about
not all
ideal.
created equal. Yeah, but if they're all like 7 or 8s plus, then I'm fine with any one of them.
No, you can't. We're not looking for what you'd be fine eating. We're asking for what the best.
It's not fine. 7 or 8's better than a fine.
2 weeks and you're back to your. You take 1 week off the podcast and you're right back to riling me up, just like the.
I know. I'm
days.
sorry.
No, it's good. Let's talk a little bit of patch notes though. Barry, you haven't. Let's just say you didn't watch the patch notes show.
I didn't watch the patch notes. I don't know anything about Smite anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm as clueless as like the average Redditor right now.
Great.
Which is extremely clueless, and I will have some bold opinions on these very stupid changes that I'm sure you guys did.
Well, that's the other thing is that historically you've had to be a little bit more reserved with your opinions to, hold back what you guys thought might be strong competitively or not tip people off on anything like that. And you were informed, so that meant that you were natural. It's like the curve. What is that curve of like the less you know, the more fiercely you defend what you think you know, like type of like thing. I forget what effect that's called. Now the less you know, you can absolutely just fire off scalding hot takes all over the place.
And some of them will be correct. It'll be like your opinions.
Dunning-Kruger effect. That's what it's called. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Demon Blade buff. 5 more power, 5% more attack speed on the base. Is crit back?
Probably not. I mean, I assume builds still need like double pin, Deathbringer, and then starter. And I think Kins is too important, and I think double pin is too important. So I don't really think there's a slot for Demon Blade currently.
Well, no, keep in mind that solo laners are not tanks. They are mages with breastplate.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That breastplate change kind of crazy, by the way.
Yeah, it's it turned out to be pretty good, huh?
Yeah, that is when I see like 6 of those in a game, it's a bit ridiculous.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I don't disagree.
Did that just break the soul lane meta? Like that item specifically broke the soul lane meta, or has it been like a long time coming?
Well, that's what I think. Everyone's kind of talking about soul lane. Here we go. I'm getting us in trouble right away. Everyone's talking about the soul lane meta and the soul lane itemization.
Uh-huh.
And people have been talking about, the lack of hybrid items, all that kind of stuff for warriors. And I do think it is a little silly to take this meta, which I want to say started 3 weeks ago was the first time we started seeing like significant mage solos. Even like I'm saying like 30% of the picks be mage solos. It might have not even been 3 weeks ago. It might have just been 2 weeks ago. To be like, yeah, this thing that only started being really prevalent 3 weeks ago is uncounterable, unbeatable, best thing we can do. And not only is it uncounterable, unbeatable, but it indicates that there needs to be a complete retooling of a class's itemization in order to counter it. That's the only thing that can get us to the point where this isn't the best thing to do. This thing that started being prevalent 3 weeks ago. Now, that isn't to say that, the state of warriors is perfect or anything like that. All of my usual caveats that I have to make in order to make sure that it doesn't feel like I'm just dismissing community feedback or, think everything is hunky-dory right now. I probably haven't said that phrase in maybe my entire life. But I do think that there are some things, and maybe that's the thing, is that maybe teams have scrimmed with all these ideas of how to beat this strategy, and none of them worked in any of the scrims ever, and that was the main factor. It wasn't just that the other side of the map lost, so we lost, so that idea doesn't really work out. I think a lot of the it just looks really impressive and it feels unfun to play against. Like the damage numbers are just really bloated when they come out of the lane because they just trade consistently, and it is not fun to play against as a warrior into these cooldown spamming mages. And solo lane is, in my opinion, the lane that is most influenced by feel of the pro players. Like solo laners, because their lane is so different than their laning phase is so different than every other lane in the game, and they are on an island so much. I think Mike was talking about this recently on the Travelers Proc podcast. He's never going to tell Nika how to play his lane differently. That isn't going to be something that he's going to really like tell him. He's just going to say like, yo, this is what it felt for us in team fights and all that kind of stuff. And so if a solo laner is like, yeah, this feels miserable to play against, or it feels really good to play as, they typically get more leeway on deciding their picks than I think other roles do. Because they're on that island so much. So I think the combination of bloated numbers in the post-game stat, and the lack of interactivity, and the lack of options that it feels like you have in the lane, playing against these mages, makes it feel a lot more oppressive than it is in reality. I think if you watch back some of these games from SPL this weekend where mage solos were playing, the majority of times they looked good. They were already winning pretty significantly, and it just feels like a win more pick to me. It pushes leads well, but if you fall behind, Ducky had like a Raijin solo game, and I mean, you can just ignore that guy like in that game because he was so far behind, and it wasn't necessarily his fault, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I just feel like, are things overtuned about that build path and that play style? Almost certainly, yes. Are we planning on doing nothing? No. We're going to obviously address it in some way when we get the opportunity. Is it indicative that the warrior class is unplayable and not worth anyone's time or investment? No. I think that is a patently ridiculous stance to take after a few weeks of this meta. Is my general statement.
Yeah, I would agree generally with you, but I would also say if someone like Haddix is not picking a warrior or a guardian, it's got to be pretty OP. And
Well,
seeing,
it's got to feel pretty bad to play against. I'll meet you there. I think it does feel
yeah,
really bad to play against for sure.
like watching him, I mean, granted, like Glads looked really bad,
Sure.
uh, but Kana really could not really do anything in that lane,
Nope.
and you, it looked like he was securing basically all totems early game, and I also assumed that ganks in solo are pretty hard to get off right now if people are able to pick the mage solos, 'cause that was the whole thing before, was you just gank that guy, put him behind the work, and kind of like do whatever he wants on that side of the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm assuming now, I don't know if it's due to the new breastplate or due to starters or whatever, that you can't really punish the mage solos right now, um, which is kind of weird. And also, I'm seeing them get a lot of team fight value. Obviously, the sieges are a little bit harder,
Yep.
but the team fight value seems to be skyrocketing depending on what mage and what player is playing that mage. I will say, in to your reference point earlier about Ducky, I don't think that guy is a great Raijin player, unfortunately.
No, I think we're
Um,
keeping the Daijin in the back pocket for the rest of the year.
yeah, we're gonna put that in a safe somewhere,
Yeah.
locked away. Yeah, I think that pick has to feel so good in scrims, and now it's also proving it in SPL. And like Haddix will always like go back to like Warriors and Guardians and the true tank player mentality, and if he's willing to play outside of that, it has to be extremely strong in his eyes.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, look,
Um,
like I said, it might be uncounterable, unbeatable. But it's the point I always bring up where if this was the last patch of the year, we didn't touch
mhm.
anything for another calendar year, I would be absolutely floored if in October 2024 on this exact patch, if Raijin was considered the best solo laner in the game. I'd be
Mhm.
floored. I think it would be very low percent chance.
Oh, why is everyone building Atalantis and Duo now?
I mean, its stats are like good.
Did it get buffed? Was it like a
A
previous
while
patch?
ago, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, a previous patch.
Because I guess it's just like the double flat pin that feels really good, and you
Yep.
might not be able to box into it in lane.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Yeah. Oh, and Cyclone says Atalantis is better versus squishies, which is a good point.
Well, yeah. Thank you, Spinner.
He doesn't build it though.
I've been gone that long that I forgot what flat pin
No, I think this is
is.
good, Cyclone. Make sure you can DM Cyclone if you have any more questions, Barry.
I
Shouldn't be a
will.
problem. Okay, here are some other
Anyways,
things.
on to the next. Yeah.
Yeah,
What?
yeah. Here we go. The next item. No, I'm only gonna touch a few here. Erosion, 50 gold off, but increases the anti-shield range from 40 to 55. Uh, any? I feel like erosion is better than it gets credit for, but because it's similar to like power reduction and isn't a feelable thing necessarily,
Yeah.
you don't realize how much work it's really putting in.
That's what I was gonna say. Also, how many shooting gods are meta right now? I've seen like Umoja a fair
Umoja.
bit. I think Charon is just bad and competitive. Every time I see someone lock that god in support, I could just be from like a spectator point of view, but I think that god just does nothing a lot of times.
Yeah, I think people. I was talking about this with, I think Sam earlier this week. I think Charon has a lot of. He's got a lot of tools, but he also has a lot of like gaps
Yeah.
in what your
Hmm.
team needs. He is narrowly extremely powerful, um, and people are also not as good as I thought they would be at a high level yet of playing around the mark on the 2. Like the 2 marking someone and then everyone being able to hit them for shields. I feel like I'm not seeing as much like intentional play around that as I expected to, because I think that mechanic is extremely strong. So I think players will continue to get better about that, but there are also more and more solid anti-shield options in the game. So there is that like cap on it kind of. But yeah, I think Charon is pretty good. He does way more damage than than I feel like he should. All of his damage numbers are super low, but he always does like a ton of damage because everything.
Yeah,
is
he just
like,
vomits it out.
Yeah. Abyssal Stone Charon. That's your counter to mage cooldown build. Solo. There you go.
Genius.
Odibo, 5% more attack speed. I'm assuming that isn't moving the needle for you a whole bunch.
I don't know where that needle is right now.
Understood.
I mean, I am always an oboe lover. But if this many mages are getting played in solo, I assume you're not wanting oboe in your builds.
Yeah, probably not.
Because you don't really kill mages.
Nope. Let's see here. Shadow Drinker, now only 2,200 gold. This item is good. People should be buying this item. I think it definitely rivals Jotuns on characters that don't utilize the cooldown reduction nearly as well, or want to get it later or like from different items without overcapping. So if you don't want to feel bad about going Erendite or Hydras or like anything like that, Shadow Drinker, its stats are so good, like, and it's so cheap. And I know the passive doesn't always work, but if it gets you out of one fight or onto one backliner that didn't see you coming, it is instantly paid for itself. I'm just a Shadow Drinker truther. I think it's better than people give it credit for.
Yeah, same. Also, the 2,200, I feel like that's like the cheap threshold. Like anything above that's like medium expensive, and once you hit the 2,200 threshold, I think it's very approachable as an item.
Yep.
I don't know what assassins you would build this on, but off the top of my head, that wouldn't prefer Jotuns.
I think it feels good on Merc. I think it feels good on a lot of those like auto attack-ish characters. I think it feels pretty good on Pele, though you kind of do want the cooldown on her. But I think like if you're playing Pele jungle and go Shadow Drinker into Jotuns, then you spike really hard for not very much gold. I think that those two combined is also really good. You go Shadow Drinker second. I don't think you need to go it first necessarily, but yeah, these stats are just really strong. Yeah, any character that was going Golden Blade who can now just go Gooseberries, buying Shadow Drinker feels pretty good on, in my opinion.
That's fair.
Okay, Stone of Gaia. Now, whenever you get the knockback, pull grab, or whatever part of the passive procced, you gain power during that time. This item is one that, in my opinion, its identity has always been as a solo lane counter item. When it is the least healthy is when you would just rush it first item in solo because the regen was super strong. I think one way to give warriors more agency in their lane is more conditional hybrid items. I know everyone likes to talk about our removal of hybrid items and how we said we aren't going to do it, and then we have these conditional ones, and I think that is not very fair, because if you go back and watch those patch notes or read those dev notes, we very explicitly said base item stats will not be hybrid moving forward, but conditional hybrid items we think are a healthier direction.
They should have read the terms and conditions.
Well, that's like, this is much larger text than the terms and conditions. This is like, I'm introducing myself, and they go, well, this guy didn't tell me his name. And I'm like, I did. We did talk about this.
It was at the end of the sentence.
Yeah, it was just right there. but yeah, I think Gaia into heavy knock-up characters in solo should feel a lot better. This item is also obscenely cheap. And if warriors with displacement or guardians with displacement are back in solo in the future, I think Gaia will feel pretty good into them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I also just blanket statement hate this item. Every
Mm-hmm.
time I build it, like every time I build it, I always build it in like assault because I think it's just banned from conquest in my brain. Um, I feel like I always die in the same situations regardless, and I'm like, they have 16 knockups, and Gaia is surely good here, and I'm like, I should have just got prots. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I should have just gotten that. And I don't know why. It feels like it never like has that saving grace moment with the passive.
Well, it's because you get it early, and early
Hmm.
prots are more valuable than late prots. Um,
Exactly. And then if I'm going Gaia later, I feel like I'm just trolling.
yeah, yeah. It is really hard to break that mentality of, oh, I'm
Hmm.
dying too fast. I need more prots. Like in reality, the
Yeah.
difference between 280 and 325 protections is
Uh-huh.
basically one basic attack. Like if they
Yeah.
have enough pen. If they don't have a lot of pen, then you probably don't need more prots anyway. You're not going to be feeling like, oh, I need more prots. But yeah, if you want to really like maximize your builds, I highly recommend checking out the Word of Thoth and diving into effective health and the diminishing returns that you get from purchasing more uh, protections. The best
Yeah,
prod
he's lying.
items are your first prod
Just
items, always.
keep buying prots, like I do.
Sure. Um,
The faster you get to 325, the faster you'll stay alive forever. That's how it will always be in my brain.
Unfortunately,
I'm wrong.
you're wrong. Okay, here's a spicy one. This is our last item, and then we'll go into gods after this. Alternate timeline. Increased respawn health and mana from 25% to 40%.
Benny Q is so happy right now.
This, I'm not scared of this personally. I'm really not. Like, if it ends up being OP, we can obviously nerf it. It's not that scary to me though, because let's say how many times over scrimming since alternate timeline was introduced do you think you bought alternate timeline in scrims, Barry? Like ballpark.
I personally have never bought it
You've never
in
bought it?
scrims. In scrims, no.
Wow, you're griefing. Okay, let's say, I mean, surely you should have tried a soul game with alternate timeline at some point, no?
Surely no.
Well, then it wouldn't have gotten buffed because you would have realized it was already good, except it wasn't, because it wasn't good. Yeah, okay. Let's say theoretically I've bought alternate timeline 50 times. Uh,
Okay.
I think I have lived or made it. I've made an impact in the team fight, or a team fight I wouldn't have been in had I died. Uh, Out of those 50 times, maybe 4 times. I feel like I've actually
And
like.
you're surprised I haven't bought the item?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is that you had all this time to just scrim and
That's
relax,
one out
and
of 25 times.
it's not. It wasn't good. Now I
Wait, no,
think
it's not.
no, I know. I think I was gonna let you go. I
I
wasn't
said
that
that so
smart.
confidently. My brain is
There we
cooked.
go. Oh, Messi says they've kept track. They've lived with timeline 2 out of 18 times. That's not a lot. And it's not always about living, right? Sometimes it's like, oh, I got this big CC off, I got this big damage ability off, and then I died again, but at least I was able to make an impact. I'm excited to see what alternate timeline does. I think it is an effect we don't want a ton of. We don't want it to also be guaranteed respawns, but it's an exciting effect that should have the potential to make an impact. Cyclone's playing better with it than we are because he's lived 100 times out of the 101 times he's bought it. Barry, what's the math on that?
I think it's 1 out of 25.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, give or take 1 or 2. But yeah, does this, if you were scrimming, if you were hitting the Bolt scrim room tomorrow,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Would you be interested in trying alternate timeline after this change?
Mm, probably not.
Fair enough. I
That might
missed
be
that.
griefing, but probably not. Look, I haven't dipped my toes in the Smite scrim water in a while, so like I don't know what mages are being played in mid and scrims, and I don't know if that would ever be a solo lane mage item right now. I guess we would find out this weekend
Yep.
if the pros think it was good enough.
Yep. We will indeed find out this weekend, which is good. You know what else is good, Barry? Farm
No.
fresh, pre-portioned
Oh,
ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to my doorstep. If only there was some service that provided those things. Unfortunately,
why
there
haven't they
isn't.
invented
So
that?
let's move on to gods.
Oh, perfect.
Wait, hold on. I'm getting another call. What's
Is it the
that?
president?
Sure, Mr. President. Um, we can talk about HelloFresh. That's weird for you to call me to tell me that. But we can, I guess. Wait, it does have farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to my doorstep, and that's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Well, at that rate, I didn't even say bye. By the way, I egoed him. That's why we've got to talk about HelloFresh. It is. I'm not kidding. Really, really nice to get more comfortable in the kitchen, cooking a bunch of different things. And that's what we've used HelloFresh for, but I'll get to that once we hit the personal experience part of the ad read chat. That you got to wait a little bit for that.
Mm-hmm.
What I should
The
tell you
build
about
up.
right now, instead of that, is that a crazy schedule can make it easy to fall back into your dinner time recipe rut. Keep mealtime exciting with over 40 recipes to choose from every week. So there's always something delicious to discover with HelloFresh. And with so many in-season ingredients, you'll taste all the freshness of fall in every bite of HelloFresh's chef-crafted recipes. Produce travels from the farm to your door for peak ripeness you can taste. We've used HelloFresh extensively in the past and have really, really liked it. We are big fans of HelloFresh. We've recommended it to a ton of people, just like normal people not talking on a podcast. And it is legitimately a really great service, especially to get more comfortable in the kitchen with. And it is fun because the recipes change every week. Joe, my wife, and I, we would sit on the couch and be like, "Ooh, let's get this." Next week's HelloFresh, we gotta like get our order in, and we scroll all the recipes and decide what we like. And one of our favorites comes back, and we're stoked about that, or something new that would happen really frequently. They're always tossing new recipes in there. We'd be like, "Oh, that sounds good. Let's snag that." And we have kept all the recipe cards and remake some of our favorites all the time. Which is really great. It's good, right, Barry?
Yeah, that's the most OP part about it is the recipe cards.
Yep.
Could you just keep those and then you're like you've gone through your normal rotation and then you have those recipe cards on the side and you're like, oh, we should try one of those out again.
Yep.
Or the recipe cards get added to the normal rotation.
Yep.
Also, I learned recently that HelloFresh has vegan options now.
Big. We love that
Huge
from
for us
HelloFresh.
little vegetable eaters.
That's right. They also have desserts like apple cider cake with caramel sauce. That sounds
Oh,
banging. I'm gonna want one of those,
that
please.
sounds delicious.
Or appetizers like barbecue pulled pork nachos, and you can't forget the mini pumpkin cheesesteak. It's a perfect me time treat. Not for me because I think pumpkin is gross to eat and is only fun to look at pumpkins that have been carved or drawn on and are basically good for nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have, some would say more normal taste buds, some would say worse taste buds, some would say better.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why. But
What do you say?
I say HelloFresh is great. That's what I say. So go to HelloFresh.com/50backliners and use code 50backliners. You've got two teams. Between those two teams, there are 50 backliners, 50 of them, for 50% off plus free shipping.
That's a lot.
Again, let's go to HelloFresh.com/50backliners and use code 50backliners for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. So big shout outs to them. Big HelloFresh fan right here. You should try them out. Let's do gods real quick.
Yes, sir.
Willix gets 5% more movement speed on Suku. Don't care that much because you're not going to care that much. Here we go. Cupid. This is your wheelhouse, Barry.
Oh.
Now, if an ally picks up a heart, Cupid also heals for 60% of the value.
Hey, oh.
And
That's
he gets
sick.
a little bit. He gets 1% more attack speed per rank of Flutter.
I mean, that's huge. That's some more free attack speed. It just depends on. I don't know if this puts him in the pickable slot outside of getting ult value. But I assume his early game clear isn't like that bad in the jungle. But also, duo lane seems all about clearing and getting the lane first right now. So I don't know if Cupid's really in that department. I assume he has like decent clear, but not like Ishtar, Olo, Soul, on her with whatever high clearing support. Maybe he gets value, but I'm not sure. But I love that change. That's very exciting.
There you go.
Yeah, huge for Assault. I agree.
Can you believe that in today's playtest, I was ADCing against Ro, and I picked Ho Yi, and he picked Cupid.
That's disgusting.
He counterpicked me. Now, I worded that in a way that makes it seem like it isn't blind pick, in that he had no idea who I was picking.
Oh.
But it still happened. And that didn't feel very good for me.
Oh. Why not?
Because he's better than me. And he counterpicked me. That's not fair at all. No, I actually did hit a nice bounce to kill him when I was getting ganked. So, you know.
You soloed him? In a counter matchup?
No, I think my support was there. My support helped.
Oh, okay.
But it was like I'm dying and I fire off the ricochet and it bounces off the wall and kills him as I'm dying. And he messaged me, I have been owned. So like, you know.
So you owned him.
I owned him. I gotta say it. He did carry the game and win the game for his team. I did single-handedly lose the game for my team with a bad call. And I was behind the entire game. But I got counterpicked.
Exactly.
Like, what am I supposed to do? Thank you. You get it. Okay, Polymorph on Hera and Divine Shroud both get buffs. Polymorph is base damage and scaling. Divine Shroud now scales down and cooldown. If this god doesn't get played now, I can't help her. Like, this god's good. People should play her.
Yeah, Dardes is happy.
Yes, Dardes is indeed happy. Hunbats gets lower cooldown on the early ranks of the jump, but it still scales the same spot. Gets some mana buffs. And Fear No Evil. Fear No Evil before this change, I think, was the most important ability to put points into in the entire game because it scales up in duration, so they stay feared for longer. It scales down in cooldown, so you have it more often, and it's scaled up in damage per tick. It did all three of those things. It makes no sense to me that it needed to scale up in damage and scale up in duration because that's basically the same thing, right? You're gaining damage by getting more ticks via the duration. It didn't need to gain more damage per tick at the same time. So now it doesn't gain damage per rank or per tick all at the same time. The other two remain. Now it's just 50 damage per tick at all ranks.
Sorry, I went off in like a time capsule there, remembering like him being played as Sun Wukong and the very old like
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know why I was just thinking about
Cyclone,
that the
do you
entire
remember,
time.
Barra, I'm just skipping right over your head. I'm going over your head here because I have no faith you remember on how that mechanic worked. There was, like, it was supposed to fear in a random direction, right? That's, like, what the description said of Happy New Year. But I remember someone telling me that it was possible to know which direction, to, like, fear them in a particular direction or know which direction they were going to get feared or something like that. I don't know if
That
that's
sounds like a
true.
Pon Pon thing to say.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, Pon Pon was the one abusing it, I'm sure,
Mm-hmm.
at the time. But I don't remember what could make you do that. I'm also entering a time capsule myself on Divios saying
Mm-hmm.
that could he knew how to fear people with Hades too in a particular direction, which is also supposed to be random.
That just seems like a Divios like bragging thing. Like not something that's actually
Or like
happening, but like
knowing
he
where they're gonna
thinks.
go. Like where, like if he thought that it was based on their input or something like that. Maybe I'm misattributing that, but I remember someone telling me they could tell where someone was gonna go with Hades
I
too.
mean, that sounds like a 14-year-old Divios thing to say.
I mean, and to be honest, he might be right. Like that guy was grinding,
Mm-hmm.
and I would
Well,
believe him.
I feel like the that Mogao guy, he
Oh,
should
Mogao,
surely
dude, I
know.
forgot about Mogao, the Hades Odin 2 trick.
Exactly. If anyone knows, it's him.
Someone hit up
100%.
Mogao. We got to figure it out.
For sure. Yeah.
Cyclone says, as far as he knows, it was random direction for Sun Wukong. So there you go. I don't know why anyone said anything else. That was weird by them. Eshell, her passive enhanced basic now goes 70 units instead of 55. So it matches the length of her
Ooh.
ultimate. And it's now 10% faster because it felt dummy slow whenever we added the range and was the same speed. And she now gains damage mitigation while channeling the ultimate. I think if cooldown spamming solo mages with good teamfight presence are the best thing to be doing, which is what solo laners would have you believe, I think Eshell probably should have already been getting played. I would not be surprised if she were one of the highest contested mages this weekend in SPL because of this.
You're such an Ishel fan.
I mean, I think she's cool and fun.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's
I th-
go ahead.
I just think she doesn't do enough competitively. I feel like Morgan Le Fay probably just does her job better. I
Maybe
think.
she does. I mean, her healing is not nothing.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's been, and I feel like the breastplate cooldown should feel good.
Her one is like basically a 3-second cooldown with full CDR.
Yeah. And yeah, no, you might be right. You might
I
be
think
cooking.
she is going to be a solo laner this weekend for sure. Um,
I
you know,
I feel like the I feel like if you're able to go breastplate early, then she'll feel really good. I assume that people are going at least like 30% cooldown on their builds,
people are like
including breastplate.
rushing full CDR base. Well, because they can get blue totem, they're going Vamp Shroud, Pythags, breastplate, and then selecting blue totem. So
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
they sit at 40% CDR at 2 items.
Yeah, I think it just depends if the pros are valuing her team fight presence. Because based off of how I was watching Haddox play, he was just kind of like push ulting to just make space in the team fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume Raijins and Morgan Le Fay's are kind of doing the same. I don't know if there's more mages outside of that are being played in the same fashion
It's
of just
mostly
ult
just
being
those
like,
three, I'd say.
like ults being used for room making. I don't know if Ishel ult really does that.
No, it doesn't.
I feel like you want like a stronger frontline force with an Ishel in front of you, so you're able to get like the double hits. But maybe her spam ability is good enough in the 1v1s in solo to where she can transition and have that slightly weaker team fight than the other mages.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or her damage values would just have to feel better than the other mages. But I'm not sure in a direct like damage comparison. I think she does have very high scalings, right? Or like very high
Yep.
base damage.
Yeah. Yeah. Her damage numbers are not weak.
Do you know if her base damage is higher or if her scalings are higher, or is it both?
I want to say it is more scaling than base,
Okay.
but I might be wrong. Yeah, I don't know. I might be wrong.
But Either way, if she has like relatively high base, then the spam ability should feel good since I think you're not building power items for like 5th or 6th item. Um,
Yeah, what it's like
maybe it's 4th, 5th, or 6th.
Pythag's breastplate. Are people going Typhon's third or fourth? I think they're going Typhon's fourth.
Mm-hmm.
I forget.
And then I saw like a divine as well. I think that was Fine OK's Morgan Le Fay build. I think.
Yeah. I think it's like Divine, Typhons, and then something else.
Some other mage item that's proccing something.
Yep.
I assume they're not going Soul Gem. I saw that get buffed, but I assume that that's more of like a mid laner item.
Yeah, I mean, I think Soul Gem is one of eShell's best items. I think Polly is one of her best items, but that you can't really build in solo effectively. By the way, this build that they're going is Messi has Pythag's breastplate, Genji's Typhon's Divine. I wonder how necessary Pythag's is for the 1v1 in solo, especially if it's going to be in a lane where you aren't trying to necessarily like bully super hard and you're just happy to like handshake the lane. I feel like tablet into breastplate is probably just better for you. I mean, Pythags is decent stats for your team, but I think like getting your tablet stacked, getting you're adding the mana from breastplate. Like I feel like getting a more and the problem with going Reaver is that you don't have enough pen to go along with it to like make it meaningfully affect the tanks. I feel like tablet makes your it's lifesteal for Typhons. Yeah, that is true.
I also think Pythag is just one of those like super feel good items like individually.
Yeah. Which is crazy because a month ago you couldn't get anyone to touch that item with a 10-foot pole. But now it's the best thing you could possibly do. No possible counterplay. Cuckoo. He's now slow immune for the entire duration of his turn. This was one of my biggest pet peeves. The reason that it makes sense to me that Ra doesn't get slow immunity the entire time is because he doesn't really animate. There's some effects that go around him, but he's in the exact same pose. Cuckoo gets on the ground and he starts slithering around, and then he's just able to be slowed at some point when he's still in slither mode. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and you see the streams of air going off him,
right.
Which now should be the streams of slows not affecting him.
Right.
As he flies through a normal, I guess, slightly faster speed.
That's right. Well, no, it's the same speed. He just can't be slowed. He didn't speed up at all.
Oh, I meant like the two, like giving you like a base speed.
Well, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But then it decays. It's like,
why does it decay, by the way?
Yeah, I don't know. Old ability. That's how it be.
It's just kind of funny that he's got the worst cardio in the world.
Yeah,
like
I really wish we could make him start breathing heavier. Like in it, like your like audio, he's like, like as he gets closer to the end.
He tries to cast a 3 and he just runs out of breath mid 3.
Yeah, I mean he's getting the like running pains. What are those called?
Stitches.
Stitches. Yeah, he's getting a stitch. Yeah. He's got to put his wings up above his head and take his deep breaths. You know what I mean? God, stitches suck. Oh, he also got 2% more scaling on Whirlwind. I think this god is legit good, by the way.
I've been on that train for so long because people will always get randomly hit by the ult in the late game. Also, with more mages being played in solo, I feel like you're just going to hit the ult sometimes.
Yep.
Like if you hit any frontliner right now with the ult, you're going to kill them.
Yep.
Like, or they will be in a spot where they will die.
Yep.
Maybe that's not true for supports. Maybe supports like super OP right now. If you hit them with the ult, it's like a fourth or like a third of their HP. But these mage solos, if you hit them with an ult, they are cooked.
They are indeed cooked. And let's take a look at the mid picks this week. That got
still
played.
assassins.
No. Just among the mages. Okay. Actually, assassins were less than hunters. It was only 4.5% assassins in mid.
Wow.
22.7% hunters, 72.7% mages. Baba, Apwash, Agni, the Morrigan, Tiamat, Hel, Ra. So the 7th most played god has some amount of objective secure. Poseidon is next. He has some amount of objective secure.
Yeah.
Then it's Morgan Le Fay, Anubis, Raijin, Disco, Merlin. 2 out of those gods 10 plus mages have any amount of objectives secure. Cuckoo is really good at securing objectives, and securing objectives guaranteed is really, really, really valuable. So I think when non-secure mages are getting played, secure mages oftentimes, like, if they can keep pace in the other facets of the game and then just also happen to have secure, they end up being really valuable. So I'm a fan. Speaking of I'm a fan, Maui, he now is self-slowed less while he's pulling people with the 1. It doesn't make him pull you any farther. He's just less vulnerable during that time. You could aren't basically rooted. And then the alt scales down in cooldown per rank. Not 110 at all ranks. Now we'll scale down to 90.
Yeah, he's needed some love for a while, and I'm not sure why. Because I always thought it was relatively good, but his kit on paper seems really good, but I'm not sure why he's not seeing enough play. And we thought the same thing. I think it was Spring Split this year, where he was super OP Worlds and Fall, and then for some reason just didn't feel that great this year. And I'm not sure if that's totems and or it's obelisk difference or what that is.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. I'm not sure. But yeah, for some reason he felt slightly worse this year.
Yeah. He's just not the most consistent Guardian, and a lot of times supports just value consistency. Ease of landing their crowd control and all that kind of stuff. But hopefully he's coming back. Neath, the 2, gets pretty substantial buffs. It gets 20% additional scaling. I don't know that we have ever given a damage character a 20% scaling buff in one patch on a non-ultimate ability. That is a lot. And her weave heals slightly more. Or she heals slightly more from Unravel, including the weaves. I know the 2 is a death sentence to cast in team fights late. I get that. But you can beads during it now, which hasn't always been the case. And it now has 100% scaling. That is a lot.
A lot of scaling.
That's a lot of scaling. And she's building a lot of power. I don't know. I think if I were a mid laner and my solo laner is insisting that the only thing they can play are Raijin, Morgan Le Fay, Ishel, Hades, and I'm sick of everyone stacking a bunch of Magic D against me, I'm just saying screw this, and I'm picking Neath and just slamming people.
That's not a bad idea.
And I'll ult their stupid solo lane mage at level 5, level 7, level 9.
Yeah, he's going Pythax. He's going to die. And if it's mage versus mage, he's not going to have physical defense for a while.
Nope. Barra, this is what I'm saying. Being on the outside looking into the Pro League meta, it feels so easy.
They're all just
to solve,
stupid.
Right? It feels so easy.
So stupid. Yep. Just pick Neath.
Just pick Neath mid. You'll win. And then don't screw up. Okay, Osiris. I know people. I saw a lot of people memeing about Osiris's 15th buff. This guy got a spicy change at the beginning of the season of Celebrations, and literally got worse from all those buffs because more people played him, and he's hard and bad, so his win rate went down, which is crazy. Surely he won't be that bad after this. His 1 now does a lot more damage to minions, not more than its base number is, but it was doing half that number all the time. Now it's doing 3/4. Judgment Tether, which is, for my money, top 3 non-ultimate abilities in the game, and it ain't 3, loses a 1 second cooldown. And then the ultimate, now anyone who has the little soul above their head now has 20% negative cooldown reduction during that time.
Does that stack?
With Abyssal Stone, yes. You could give them negative 40% CDR.
That's interesting.
Hey, cooldown mages. Hold this,
Uh-huh. Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, I have no opinion on Osiris. I haven't seen him or played against him in so long, so I genuinely have no idea. But obviously I feel like the early game would have to be or Osiris's early game would have to be impressive for him to get picked, and if he's getting outshone by mages, I don't know if this is enough to bring him back in the solo lane. Uh,
Yeah, I'm just ready
mm,
for game one. It to be Ishel solo, Osiris jungle,
with a Neath mid.
with a Neath mid. I'm ready for it. Um, it will make me sad, but
Mm-hmm.
it'll be okay. It'll be okay.
I would say I'll be watching that game one, but I work, so
There you go. Isn't that a fun little sentence to say? Doesn't that feel nice?
yeah, it is. It is nice.
Yeah, it is nice. Okay, last but not least, there are more changes, but the last one I want to go over today. Uller. Have you seen this change?
No, I'm not.
Interesting. Okay, wait. Don't read. Don't read. Don't read. I'm just gonna
Oh,
tell you.
I just read it.
What
Okay, that's
the?
unlucky. What? Sorry,
I know,
you
I took
sold
too
it
long.
so.
I took
Yeah,
too long.
yeah. I
He
gotta
gets a
say.
little bit of scaling on the one. Who cares, right? Just like, who cares? The 2 and the ult in bow stance get their effects swapped. So now you gain power by putting points in the ult, and you gain attack speed when activating the 2 in bow stance. Very important to remember as well that you get half the benefit of bow stats while in axe stance, and you get the full benefit of the stim if you use it and then swap to axe stance. This is one that we talked about a decent amount, and it just kind of like, this idea just kind of came up, and we were like, we think it is better for the character overall, and it is interesting, and it doesn't feel bad, but people might just hate it anyways, because it is changing, a core feeling a little bit of this character that's been out since season 1. I will say, I have played a lot of Uller. He's one of my favorite gods to play. I think he feels pretty significantly better. And yes, it was intended to be a buff as well. Thank you, Cyclone. That's important. And it is intended to be a buff for the character overall. I like this feeling that he has a lot more. But I'm interested in how these changes hit your ear first and foremost, and then if you get the opportunity to play an Uller game or two in the next week, I'd be very interested in hearing what you think after playing it.
Well, I assume it feels better because you're not having to worry about pressing 2 as much during your combo.
Yes.
But pressing 2 at the end of your combo probably still feels very good in a new way.
Yes.
So yeah,
You feel like
I
a
think
hunter after you've used your combo.
yeah, I think it makes sense. But I think the hardcore Ullr players are probably not happy. But to me, it makes sense with the character identity that he kind of used to have, where he wasn't just like Axe 3-1, jump away, or like you Hydra's auto, then jump away after that. Which I like the hunter aspect of Ullr more than the full ability based Ullr. And I think this kind of brings that direction back.
Interesting. Yeah, to what shouldn't be a huge surprise, I'm more of a fan of ability like Mage Ullr. And I feel like it feels better for me because I'm getting the stat I care most about consistently throughout the game, which is power. That's like just the most important thing for him is just raw power number, alongside pen and all that kind of stuff. And getting 44 power all the time and bow stance at level 20 feels really good. That's a tier 3 item worth. And it smooths out, it makes it so that his power curve isn't too, it makes his power curve smoother throughout the game, which I think has always been a pain point on this god. And then, yeah, in the times where I'm, tier 2 power worth at level 5 is a good point from Cyclone as well. Personally, I was 0 points in anything but 1 and 3. If I felt like I needed to get the movement speed, or that my cooldown, like I wasn't getting enough of a lead and my cooldowns were really important, I'd put a point in 2 at like level 6, um, just to get the cooldown reduction in the opposite stance. But I would never put a point in the ult until I absolutely needed to. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Now I hit
And
5.
that just feels kind of bad.
Right.
Like,
I'm putting a
it's
point in
like,
this every chance I get now,
mm-hmm.
which feels a little bit more natural. Uh, and yeah, the feeling of using my bow too, and then swapping to axe stance to like lifesteal with a bunch of attack speed when I'm low. Um, you were getting a bunch of lifesteal from the power, but there isn't feedback that you're getting more lifesteal besides the number like chunking up higher. Your power buff like doesn't change the way you swing the axe. I think the attack speed feels better for those moments. So yeah, get a sneak and Uller game in over the next week if you get a chance. I'm interested to see what you think.
Yeah, with those mechanics I showed today in Assault, I can imagine my Uller mechanics are through the roof today.
Don't worry, Barry. I'll
Or
hop
in
on and
general.
let's hop on some nice little baby Smurfs on in some
Oh,
ranks.
sure.
Hit a duo lane and just
And not
really
hit a dual lane.
put on a show, if you will, for the enemy team,
Uh-huh.
so to speak.
I'll need like an Athena support, something like Baby Easy that I can hit a combo on every
Right.
time
Well,
you
I
come to
won't
lane.
taunt until I've 3'd, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, as long as
Because
I'm
I've got to get
expecting
the
that.
damage from
Yeah,
the 3.
yeah, after you dash, I'll wait 2 seconds to press a button.
Right. Oh, also, I should use my passive auto before I 2. So I should
Oh yeah, for
dash,
sure.
auto,
Yeah.
3, auto, 2, auto.
Yeah, exactly.
They're dead.
And they'll always still be in that same spot by the time you get to your 2.
Right. And then I'll wiggle on the way back so that I don't get
Oh,
hit
perfect.
too much.
Or just walk in the other direction, just like perpendicular to me, and just drag them like in a
Right. Well, I'll be
line
going
away
left,
from me.
and then I'll be
Exactly.
going right because
Okay.
they're going to start aiming left. And then I'm going to go left. And so I'm going to go left, right, left. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay, good.
That's
I'll
going to be
remember
my
that.
jump pattern.
Yeah, it would be the Z pattern.
Right. Well, not to bring back bad memories, you know.
Wait, that's an S. Never mind.
Yeah, of school. Those are the bad memories that I'm bringing up.
I'm like left, right. Okay.
There you go. Before we head to the random question of the week, not too long because someone's talked so much on this episode. There were some big roster changes that we didn't get your thoughts on. Vote kicked for Coast. He's now on the Dragons. And then, Stu to the Hounds, Snoopy to ADC, all that kind of good stuff. Jengaru to mid for the Glads.
Mm-hmm.
Give us your quick little thoughts on those roster changes.
Very surprised that Vote got kicked. That change just kind of seems very random, but I mean, seeing how Coast is performing with the team on top of how everyone's kind of reinvigorated with Coast, they seem to be playing much, much, much better.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to have a lot of momentum, and I think that team getting confidence and getting momentum is a very scary thing for the rest of the league. Because they kind of still have this aggressive play style, and I think PBM kind of needs that. Just that, because Vote's a very like standard traditional ADC player, and I think Kos is a bit more aggressive. I think Kos is still like standard, but I think he probably brings a lot more energy than Vote was.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's kind of helping to reinvigorate the team as well. Stu joining Hounds. I think Hounds, this is like the worst they've looked in a long time.
Yeah.
They're just having bad performances everywhere. And I don't think Stu coming into this team is really going to be able to make a difference or help them, unfortunately. But I still think Hounds are a better team than Glads.
Mm-hmm.
But Hounds just have so many issues to fix. And I don't think this is their meta. I think Benny is really the only player that's looking consistently good. And this past weekend, he was pretty bad, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
I think I talked about it on my stream. I think Benny is really their only win con right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just I don't think Oath is doing too much. Ducky is not doing nearly as much as he was in Spring Split. I think Neil is still trying to like find the ground in terms of support and support in this current meta compared to when he was supporting before. And then for Glads, I think Glads got better. Because I think Snoopy was kind of underperforming in mid
Mm-hmm.
recently. Kind of the same as Hounds. I think Snoopy just. I just think he's a better ADC player than he is a mid player.
Yeah.
I just think it flows more naturally. He's in better positions in late game team fights. He's able to kind of be an X factor win condition for his team in ADC, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was able to do that in mid as consistently.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if he like doesn't like ADC or didn't want ADC previously. But Jengaru has impressed me a lot since he's come in. And I think that this team can be good, but I think they're in the same boat as Hounds where they just have so many issues to work on. And watching Kana this past weekend, he just performed really poorly.
Yeah.
He had a very bad individual performance. His laning phase was weak. His rotations were weak. And from my perspective, I think solo lane is a very, very, very important role right now,
Yep.
especially with these hyper carry mages being played.
Yep.
And I think if you're a solo laner farming for 20 minutes, your team will not win the game. Like
Yep.
those 12-minute fights in mid, those 18-minute fights in mid, I think that's the biggest, most important part of the game. And if you're not controlling totems, if you're not able to rotate, if you're just waiting for those like super OP team fight opportunities to happen, I don't think you're going to get those opportunities right now. So I think Glad just need to like redefine what they're able to do, and they just seem like kind of over eager to force kills. They seem to like dump a lot into like first, second, third kills on the map, which sometimes it's okay, but it's kind of like it shows like a desperation factor. I think where you're just trying to like get the ball rolling in any way,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of understandable for like a bottom seeded team to like force those plays. But yeah, I think Hounds and Glads just need to fix a lot of issues. I think Dragons definitely got better. Obviously, sad to not see a vote in the league anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Dragons are looking really good.
Yeah. I mean, I generally agree with everything you said. I think I might be huffing the copium here. But
I know what you're gonna say.
I feel like the Dragons are the scariest team to me now.
Oh, that wasn't what I thought you were gonna say.
No, I think that like their potential, and there is a lot of advantage in not playing a lot of games with this roster because it feels like that potential is the more games you see from a team, the
Oh, I get what you're
less
saying.
potential movement they have, right? So they have the
Mm-hmm.
most potential movement, and they're trending up. So all of you think, oh, how much better than can they get? Um, I just think Coast is one of, if not the best, backliners in the entire league right now between mid and ADC. I think he is one of the most transformative backliners there is.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think the Hounds are. I hope it isn't the case, but like they're up the creek and they have no paddle.
Mm-hmm.
Coast was just their best player by a significant margin, and losing that is always going to be really tough. I think,
Yeah, it just seems like Hounds and Glads just don't have like great win conditions or lanes to play through.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I think the Hounds and Glads are now basically the same team to me. The Hounds just have a little bit more talent um,
Mm-hmm.
on their roster, but they're kind of in the same boat. I think the Ferrymen and the Dragons are by far the two scariest teams in the league to me right now. I think the Warriors are still there, but I don't know. I just have a gut feeling, and I'm definitely, I have my personal biases on, the play styles that I think are the best and all that kind of stuff. I still think that Panatom is the best jungler in the world, which makes a huge difference. But yeah, the Warriors are just a hair below the Ferrymen and the Dragons in my mind. And then the Leviathans are just a little bit below the Warriors. Then I think this meta has got to be the disaster meta for the Kings, right?
Yeah, they're
Harry is not the Raijin solo player, right?
no.
And by the way,
It's time for the Agni.
It's time for the Agni. Here we go. Can I just say, it is insane to me that Captain Twig, I mean, he's obviously not playing very good Smite right now. And how could he? Like, this, like, I understand exactly where he is right now mentally. Him and his wife just had their first kid. I cannot fathom having to try and, like, playing an esport is a level of focus that until you have done it, I feel like you can't really wrap your head around it. Like, your brain just gets so locked, and it requires intense focus on a level that I've never experienced with anything else. I've played competitive sports. That is because it's more physical. That takes away from the mental strain that you feel, and it transfers some of it into your body. The mental strain you are under in a comp match is in a league of its own. And the mental fatigue that I felt the first few months after my son was born was also unlike anything I've ever experienced. It literally, like, it's like trying to say, to me, it's sounding like someone tears their ACL and then goes and tries to do hurdles. Like, that's what it sounds like to me. It is, your brain state is just crushed. Like, you can't function. Like, I could not function, and I still feel like, I'm not even kidding, I still don't feel like I am anywhere close to, like, being back to full mental capacity yet. Like, I'm not even sure I'm at 50% from that exhaustion, that I, like, that mental fatigue that I felt during that time. No one has had a kid in the middle of a season like this. Pretty Prime they had their kid right before Worlds, his final season in the SPL, and he flew here and stayed away from his newborn to play. And he talked about that on his Travelers Proc episode. I'd recommend checking it out. This is the first time this has happened in the Smite Pro League. And it is, Twig could literally go 0-10 every game from now until the rest of the season, and I would not blame him even a little bit. Even a little bit. Like, I can't, it feels like it's different. Like, you can't understand it until you go through it, but it really is like that on both ends. I feel like you can't understand the mental strain that you feel competing in an esport, or what happens to your brain after you have a kid. And the thought of combining those two things is literally, like, it's incomprehensible to me. So as far as I'm concerned, Twig could literally do anything positive, and it is the Michael Jordan flu game every single time that guy loads into a game.
Every time he hits an ability,
I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Like, I'm serious. That guy,
he's doing great.
He really is. The fact that he can show up and stay awake for that long is impressive to me in and of itself. If I see any Twig slander, just know I think you're lame. Like, that guy is, this is the definition of playing injured in esports. Like, it is crazy to me. That being said, he's playing awfully, and they won't win a lot of games right now because this meta's not good for them. And Twig, like I said, no one could expect more from him in this state, in my opinion.
Yeah. I also kind of feel that same way about Kings that I feel about Hounds and Glads, just to a way lesser degree. Where their win cons are just very limited on the map. And their objectives didn't seem that clean this past weekend from what I'm remembering. And I think that was their strong suit with genetics, and I think that if that is going to be their strong suit again, they need to kind of iron it out a bit in scrims and just kind of see where those issues are. Because outside of objectives, I don't know if they have that many win cons. Because I agree with you. I think the solo side is their just weak spot on the map right now. But
They're
I don't
chalked.
think.
They're chalked.
Yeah, I feel like when your solo side is weak, then that makes your duo side weak as well. Because your jungler is behind, then your solar is behind, then you're not getting totems, and then once your solo lane side is behind, then their jungler just starts coming to your duo side on cooldown because they don't have to worry about solo side anymore because that guy's good over there. And it just like it's a very quick domino effect over like 10 minutes. Um, and I think I remember Quig playing a lot of Afro, and I don't
Mm.
really know why. Granted, as well, I'm completely out of like pro scene and pro meta by this point. I'm like completely sailed away in my own
No,
boat.
this is what it is. You see it from the outside, and it's so clear when things are bad. It's so clear.
Yeah, but I've also it's kind of funny. I remember being in scrims and being like, "This I'm so clear that this is good," and people are gonna question why, and I'm like, I'm so sure that this is good and the best thing we could be doing. But it's
Yep.
so funny to watch from the outside, and you're like, "Well, that pick doesn't look good."
Nope.
Like, it's so funny to watch from this perspective now. But yeah, I feel like Kings are just missing that win con. I mean, on paper they have crazy mechanical talent in mid and duo,
Yep.
and I think their solo lane side just needs that like they basic. It's gonna sound toxic, but I think that they need to not lose the game.
Yep. No, I mean, I think you're right. As long as this meta's
Um,
the thing, like I don't think Harry's washed.
oh
I would
yeah, no,
still
of course
value
not.
him very highly going into something like Worlds, but
Hmm.
he is just not historically been a great player in these types of metas that are away from his traditional god pool. He's a really
Yeah,
good Baron player. And
that's
if
true.
Baron is one of those mages that is playable, then I would be first picking that for him every game. He's a
Hmm.
very good Baron player. And it's not that
He's
he's
good at Zong
inflexible.
too, right?
What's that?
He's good at Zong too, right?
Yep, he's a good Zhong player. I mean, everyone remembers his Thanatos and Rat games from season 3, though that was an eternity ago. It's not like he has a god puddle, but he's a player who's a little bit volatile. He can have those 10 death games, and then he can come back and go 10-0 the next game. Um,
In the same
but
matchup.
in the same matchup, yep. I've got a ton of respect for that guy. I think that if this turns out to be the thing that everyone is playing at Worlds, it does significantly hurt the Kings' chances. But if it turns out to be an Ama Kamazot's meta, they're feeling great because he's better at those types of gods than most. So, just not the Kings' time. And if the Kings could theoretically forfeit every game from now until Worlds to let Twig sleep, they would be in a good spot.
Yeah,
Like,
they just see what God's Biggie can play, and
seriously.
all right, you're slotted in this weekend. We got to give Twig a break. Just
But that's the thing is that
whip.
he could literally not play from now until Worlds, like in comp, and it still wouldn't be enough time.
Yeah,
So
he's
yeah.
just permanently in sleep debt, and he can't recover.
Yep, yep, pretty much. I
And
mean,
you're
I'm
like,
only a few
I'm
months
right there.
in, but
Yeah.
I'm not even close to getting out of that. It's a lot like student debt in that way. Anyways, that's a good transition to talk about our other sponsor for this week, which is BetterHelp. uh,
Oh no.
this show/episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Yeah, I mean, obviously that was a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek joke there, but in general, if there's a lot of changes going on in your life, like say having a kid, then obviously therapy is going to be particularly helpful for you. But I think one of the big misconceptions that bothers me that I hear is, oh, I'm not sad enough to go to therapy, or my life isn't bad enough to go to therapy. And I feel like that's just not a valid thought. Well, like, it's a valid thought, but it's not something that should stop you. Because I think therapy could is going to be beneficial for literally everyone on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
There's no downsides if you find a therapist that you like and you connect with, to just having occasional discussions to better understand yourself, those around you, how your actions impact yourself and those around you, all of those types of things. It is just the best thing in the world that you can do for yourself, in my opinion. Yeah, there's no bigger endorsement I can give than that. I literally think if there is one thing that I could have literally everyone on earth do to make themselves happier, better, it would be finding the right therapist and talking to a therapist. I think it's that OP. And BetterHelp makes it a lot easier, right, Barry?
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's super easy to change therapist on BetterHelp. You're never like stuck with a therapist. Also, the scheduling with a therapist is very easy. And one thing that I like is you can do it over text, you can do it over video, or you can do it over phone call, just depending on how sociable you're feeling that day or you think you'll be feeling in the future, depending on how dramatic or how difficult talking through something can be. I know
Mm-hmm.
talking over text is a bit easier than other things or other ways. Um, so just depending on your comfort level and depending on what you're going through and what you will be going through in therapy, I think it's very beneficial, and it also can kind of unlock things in your past that you weren't thinking about, or figure out why you question things a certain way or think about things a certain way, positively or negatively. Um, and then it's just so easy to swap if you feel like you're not vibing or meshing with that therapist. It's not like going to offend them at all. You don't have to worry about that. You can just cancel, move on to a different therapist, or like take a little bit of a break if you need to,
Mm-hmm.
and come right back. I highly recommend it. And if you're, it's a very stressful time out there right now. And if you're feeling that extra stress, I highly recommend signing up.
Agreed. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/backliners today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/backliners. Big shout out to BetterHelp. Okay. Random question of the week, which we are going to speed through because we're going to be answering your questions live next Wednesday, November 1st, 8 p.m. Get your tickets. Link is in the description, whatever. These are the most fun episodes we do on the show,
Mm-hmm.
bar none. I was saying last week, Barry, if we could do that show every single week, I'd be ecstatic. Like, I would be all
Yeah, I
about it.
completely agree. It's
They're the best.
it's kind of like a miniature worlds, you
Yeah.
know. It's
Yeah, it's
like
like a hangout, meetup.
yeah, it's like a world's light, you know. You get to hang out with Smite people, talk about Smite, or talk about any random things you want to talk about. It's kind of a more personalized touch than questions of the week or like talking in chat. So if you want to connect with us, I recommend signing up that way.
Yep. And again, it is also free for our patrons, patreon.com/backliners. There will be a code that you can put in that'll be in the Discord.
Oh, cool.
So if you've been considering, now is a good time. Okay, random question of the week, which is in that community Discord. Spataz, what is something that is ridiculously expensive that you've had to spend money on and hated every minute? For example, they had to get a lawyer for a home situation, and it cost them $100 for a 15-minute consultation.
Oh,
Yo, I should become a lawyer. They just have to talk,
for
right?
real.
Like, that's all they do. They just,
Yeah.
I could argue for sure.
You gotta
And
talk
I've
and you
played
gotta
every
know
Phoenix
stuff.
Wright game, and I did really well.
Exactly.
So I'm
Yeah.
basically a lawyer already.
I would say most home things like home repairs,
Yeah.
uh, you feel like it's not going to be that much, and then you see the bill or you see the quote and you're like, huh? Like,
Yep. That's a good
excuse me,
one.
it was that much?
Yeah, we got two TVs mounted,
Uh-huh.
and that was multiple hundreds of dollars.
Yep.
Because they had to, like build a little like outlet for it and like all that kind of stuff. And I was very glad to trust that they were doing it properly. I also was very sad writing that check because it was very large.
Yeah. My two would be that, and then healthcare when you kind of have to get healthcare. Last year I was really sick with COVID and had to go back to the doctor multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get those bills for like months later,
Mm-hmm.
and I got them in the bill or I got them in the mail, and I remember going to like a pulmonologist and getting like a full like scan, work through and everything. It was like a 30-minute visit or whatever. It was like $500.
My God,
And I was like, "Excuse me?" Like
that is
I went to a
obscene. You're
I
gonna
went to
pull
a
out Comrade
specialist.
Aggro here pretty soon if we start talking about healthcare stuff. I'm gonna lose my mind. It makes me so mad.
It was like I went to a specialist because like I haven't been able to function for like 6 or 7 weeks at this point. And I have to pay $500. Like,
Yeah, you can only
jeez.
you can only live healthily if you have enough money to do so. That's the rule.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I also probably shouldn't have waited that long, but I was like, surely this week COVID gets better.
Right.
Surely. Like,
And because you don't want to have to spend that much money, so the
exactly.
choice you have to make. Do you want to ballpark guess how much it cost us before insurance? Luckily, of course, we have insurance, all that kind of stuff. What if we didn't have insurance? What we would have been charged to have our kid?
50K?
More.
Yeah.
But you aren't that close.
I'm not close?
Not really. Kind of, but like
125?
no, lower than that. It
Oh,
was
okay.
five figures, but it was like over $70,000 is what we would have been charged if we didn't have insurance, which we do. It's not. That's not a thing. It's not a thing. All of our
They're just-
non-American listeners are like literally tearing their eyeballs out right now. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Who's ballparking these
And
numbers?
don't think of no, I can't get started. I can't get started.
Next question.
Isn't it
next
also
question,
crazy
next question.
that insurance is a for-profit industry? Isn't that crazy, right? That they're just like, yeah, we're here to make money. And our service is paying off these exorbitant bills. But we are here not to help people, but to make ourselves money. Like, that's the baseline objective there. And then you wonder, like, how could it get so expensive? And it's because these
Next question was, how was your day?
better before I started thinking about the healthcare situation. No, it was pretty good.
Oh, good.
It was pretty good. Joe got a funny video of our son looking really cute and then having a really big poop, and that was very funny. So, yeah, that was good. How about yours, Barry?
My day, I woke up in a great mood. 7 in the morning, woke up. I was primed and ready to go. Had a pretty slow morning at work. Kind of relaxing, just not much for me to do because I'm still training, so I can't really do anything by myself yet. And then after work or after lunch, I learned a whole bunch of stuff and read a whole bunch of stuff, and then kind of just overflowed my brain with information. So since that point, since like 5 p.m. today, I've been a little cooked. And then today we got home, and Destiny walks in the bedroom. She's like, "It smells weird in here." And then Hobbs was kind enough to poop in our bed and cover it up as well.
Well, that's just polite.
Exactly. And then, Hero was also kind enough to poop in our bathroom.
Wow.
And cover it up as well with the rug. So Hobbs, we can't really blame him because apparently he snuck in the bedroom this morning before we left. And so he was in there all day. So, he kind of had to poop. I don't know when Hero pooped in there. It had to be like this morning when we were getting ready.
Well, this is like the first time ever that your house has just been like empty, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So like they must be like, what the hell is this,
Yeah, and then they're also like stressed out with Hammy.
Right.
Hero has been like gonna be kind of gross, but he's had like diarrhea and like some like blood in his
Oh, don't
stool
like that.
lately. So I'm taking him to the vet tomorrow before work. Hopefully, because it's kind of been on and off with him as far as like digestion goes. So hopefully everything's fine. But apparently we've been looking, and it can't just be due to stress. And him and Hammy, he like stresses out every time he like sees Hammy. He like swats at him or gets like he does that like eye thing, where a cat's like
Yep.
watching but not watching.
Yep.
So take him to the vet tomorrow. Hopefully everything's good.
Yeah, here's hoping.
Uh, and then I lay on the couch and then I got on here and started streaming and then doing the podcast.
And then I asked you your favorite flavor of gum. Actually, that was Messy who asked you.
Exactly.
Favorite
Oh.
flavor of gum. Did you ever give out gum in school or fiend from other students? I was a gum supplier. I
You're
was
the
always
cool
someone
guy.
who had. I actually had to stop chewing gum because my jaw was starting to like hurt from chewing so much gum.
The Shinto.
Yeah. No, I was like it's. I know now it's an ADHD thing, but just like it's a fidget, but for my mouth. So yeah, I was a big gum chewer, and I liked the dark blue 5 gum was my favorite. Light blue 5 also good. Spearmint gum terrible. I don't want it. It's bad. Juicy fruit fun to switch it up with every once in a while. Not actually good though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of see gum as long as it lasts like 10 minutes, like flavor wise. I hate the gum that it's like 30 seconds to a minute and it's
Yep.
already lost flavor. And
Yeah.
you're like,
What's
what's
the
even the point of this?
Orbit gum is like that for me. Orbit
It's
when
so
you
bad.
first start chewing it is really good, and then it just loses flavor way too quickly. And it's short and
Yeah.
stubby, and it doesn't feel satisfying to like
Oh,
get
yeah.
feeling gummy.
You need enough mouthfeel with the gum, not like you're
Dude, I
trying to
want gum
find it every
so
time.
bad right now. Do I have any? No. I do. I might downstairs. I really want
Um,
gum now.
I don't I don't mind like peppermint or spearmint. All of those are below sugar-free fruity gum for me.
Mm,
And then cinnamon, depending on the
no. No.
depending on
Absolutely
the
not.
gum, can be good or like the worst gum you've ever
Terrible.
had.
Terrible.
Um, but it's still below fruit for me or fruity flavor. But good cinnamon's pretty good. As long as it's got like that nice spiciness, but also like cinnamon undertones.
It's bad.
Um,
It's just bad. I'm sorry.
you've just only had bad cinnamon gum then.
I'll try whatever good cinnamon gum you have. It won't be as good as like peppermint.
Yeah, you're not wrong with that. I would
It's
agree
not.
with you
It's
there.
just not good.
But also, good peppermint's a little overpowering. Also,
It's true.
the problem with peppermint is you chew the peppermint gum and then you can't drink water for like 3 years.
Yeah, it makes the water like spicy almost. It's like intense.
It burns so
Yeah, it
bad. It's like
burns.
Sprite, like times 4.
Yeah, the gum that has the zebra on it. No, but I'm googling it. Gum with zebra on it.
I have no idea what you're talking
Fruit
about.
fruit stripe. Yeah, I don't think I've ever had this, and I really don't think I ever want to. Destiny, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Oh no, what is this? This is
This is
some
not. This
knockoff
looks
stuff,
awful.
bro.
This looks awful.
Yeah,
Brands
this
of
had to
gum.
taste terrible.
Okay, let's just here are the first few. Okay, Trident, not good. Right, we can all agree with that.
Hmm.
Wrigley, which is also they also have juicy fruit here, but I know it's Wrigley makes juicy fruit. Juicy fruit, good. I've never had any Wrigley gum that isn't juicy fruit. Orbit, very overrated. There was definitely a divide in my high school and middle school on if you were a 5 gum person or an Orbit person.
Oh, I was a 5-1.
Absolutely, I was a 5 gum. 5 gum is my favorite. Extra is okay, but not very good. Oh wait, does Wrigley's also make double mint? Okay, if Wrigley's also makes double mint is not very good though. Double bubble is garbage. I also can't blow bubbles with my
Same.
gum. I kind of want to practice after this.
I was made fun of so much.
Me too.
And I was like, I
They're
would
like,
try to
just put it
find it
over
out
your
my
tongue. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
they just say, just put it over the tip of your tongue and blow out. And I'm like, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
Destiny can
exactly.
blow a bubble in a bubble. That is just unnecessary to tell us here, right? Like, that's just there to make us feel bad about ourselves.
Exactly. Well, I already felt bad.
Right, and she's doubling down on it, literally, with her double bubble. Maybe
We're
with
just
double bubble gum, which is not very good. Hubba Bubba, also bad. Icebreakers, the little ball icebreakers, do you remember those? We've talked about this on the podcast before. The little
maybe.
like they were like,
Let's see.
what were they called? Icebreaker.
Wait, did you like the Listerine strips?
Liquid ice. Listerine strips are okay, but they aren't.
They were fun.
Yeah, they're kind of fun, but they're too intense. Yeah, Icebreaker's liquid ice. This stuff was the best. I don't know why they discontinued these. Actually, I do. It's because my friend kept popping them into his eye directly, accidentally, when grabbing them. But it was very funny. Some of the funniest one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life was when that happened twice in a row.
The nostalgia you just gave me by
dude,
seeing
these
this
were
liquid ice
so
container.
good. Yes. They were
so
good.
cool. I love these.
They should bring Icebreakers. If you're listening, bring these back. People would 100%. Love it. This is definitely a good product to bring back. We got to bring it back.
I'm glad that Nerds Rope have stood the test of time, because that was my favorite candy.
I don't even know the last time I had a Nerds Rope. It's been a long time.
I don't eat them ever, but if I'm ever craving a candy, that's the candy to get for me.
Fair enough. Neon Kerm, round this out. What is your go-to outfit for different situations? For example, lounge around the house, going out, date night, etc. I talked about this last week. There was a question about, now that it's getting colder, what are your like things that you wear around the house? I mentioned it was some PJ pants that I stole from my dad, and I showed them kind of on camera. Here's the thing about how I'm wearing the exact same PJ pants today. Wait, I didn't have my OBS open. Could you see my leg? Yeah, there they are. They have been washed since last week, for the record.
Interesting.
Yeah, PJ pants or joggers around the house. I've got a pair of khakis that I like to wear with just about anything. Like, I like a hoodie and khakis for like just going out and hanging out type of thing. Jeans also obviously good. And then I've got a couple sweaters that I really like for like date night. Sweaters with the aforementioned khakis. Not kidding. Those, did you get long pants from Bird Dog whenever we had that Bird Dog sponsorship on the podcast?
Yes. I haven't worn them yet.
Dude, those are up there for me. Those things are
really
nice. They're really comfortable. They feel like joggers. And all I'm saying is, Joe compliments my butt every time I wear them. So those are up there too.
Yeah, they're sitting in the stacks of like sweatpants that I have right now. Since I've been going back to work,
Yes.
I wear jeans every day, and
you can't say every day like you've been doing it for 20 years. You like just started doing
that's what
like,
well, like
work.
Every like working day, like Monday through Friday, I wear jeans now, and it's so weird because I'm going from gym shorts for the past 10 years, which is probably not something to say ever. But I wore gym shorts for 10 years. And now that I'm saying it out loud, it sounds a bit ridiculous, and I probably look like I should have gotten some fashion sense somewhere along the line. But I'm wearing jeans every day, and I'm realizing more and more that I just hate jeans, which is a bad thing to realize. But I bought a lot of skinny jeans because the millennial inside of me thought that I would look really good. And I do look really good, but I need to access my pockets a lot.
Dude, that was the worst part about skinny jeans.
It's very hard to pull anything out of my pockets without like doing the little shimmy, and you gotta adjust the pocket angle to like slip your phone or wallet or anything out.
The keys, like if you put them in your pocket and it goes in wrong, it's just the most uncomfortable thing in the world. Yeah,
you sit down, you just get like stabbed.
Yep. Oh, and you can sit down on some bad parts with jeans, you know? Like, that is not good.
No. And so I'm learning that I need to go back and buy more jeans that are not skinny jeans.
Well, it doesn't have to be. Unless, are jeans like your uniform? Like, does it have to be jeans?
No, just like you need to look nice, but not like too nice,
Okay.
you know.
Those bird dog sweatpants don't really look like sweatpants. I'm not even kidding. At least if they're the same ones that I got. Those I could wear, like I would wear those in that type of environment, I think.
Like I can wear like black pants. As
Yeah.
I cannot wear sweatpants or like shorts.
I think that see if Destiny agrees. Mine are black.
Okay.
Are yours black?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I haven't seen them since I opened the box and
Fair
put
enough.
it on my sweatpants.
You're griefing, by the way. I wear those shorts and those pants like actually all the time. They're really good.
The shorts are so OP. I've worn those so many times.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the long pants are just as OP.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. There you go. I'm telling you, bro, get a good pair of like, not like when you think khakis, you think of like the cargo pant like thing. Like it isn't like that. I will show you some examples of like pants that aren't jeans that are much more comfortable, in my opinion. Like I've got some pairs of jeans that I really like, but sometimes they're just like not feeling that great. I've got some other types of pants that I really like that I think sound like they might fit your needs. You can get into my pants is what I'm trying to say here.
I mean, if you want to ship some of your dad pants to me, I will go.
Bro, we live driving distance. We don't have to. I'm not shipping anything.
All right, I'll see you. Whatever weekend you're free, I'll get into your pants on the weekend.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to hear, and that's what we're done with the podcast forever. Actually, I was playing to this end game where we just landed.
Yeah, no AMA next week.
No AMA, no podcast ever again. Barrett's going to get into my pants, and that's all that we needed.
We made it.
We made it. No, interactive AMA episode next week. You don't have to buy a ticket. It's going to be a normal episode. But if you do want to get involved, be a live guest on the show, come on. Talk to us about your favorite pair of pants. Don't talk to us about getting into our pants, though. That would be a little weird because we don't really know you like that. Barrett does know me like that, so he is getting into my pants. Yeah, check it out. Next
go to
Wednesday,
therapy, get some HelloFresh.
Go to therapy, get HelloFresh. That's that honestly should be our sign off. Is like go to therapy. That should be like one of the things I say, independent of if that episode is sponsored by BetterHelp, which this one was, by the way. BetterHelp.com/backliners to get 10% off your first month. Barra, thanks for coming back. I missed you dearly.
You're welcome.
There's a 15-hour podcast. Let's get the hell out of here. See you next week for the Interactive AMA. Until then, Barra, my buy, by the way, was pathetic. It was so bad.
Oh, no.
It was so bad.
I was building this one up, and I didn't know where the end was.
I know. I kind of baited you, but it reminded me of how bad mine was. I even threw in a voice crack to kind of bring it back to the Barra core, and it didn't work. It was really bad. This is great, because Messi says they're bringing Season 6 FG stats to the AMA. That's going to be hilarious. For me, and
Don't do that.
I can't wait to see you next week, Messi.
I don't need therapy after that episode.
Yeah, well, no different than any other episode. All right, Barry, you know what now I'm going to throw you right under the bus because you know what to do.
Bye.